Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Montoya. Alright, so in today's video, I'm going to show you all how I transformed my hot mess of a fabric collection into a beautiful work of art. Okay, so let me just tell y'all about my fabric before. I'd be shamed. Girl, this is me talking to myself, looking at my fabric. The day that I had to say no more, okay, had just recently got some fabric in the mail, and I just plopped it on, ripped it out, like, oh, it's so cute, it's so beautiful, plopped it on the shelf, and that shelf just looked like it spit out all the fabric. It just couldn't contain no more. It was like, and I'm like, you know what, I can't have my beautiful fabric out here on the floor like that. And the pictures actually look a little bit better than how it was in person. It was just horrible. So I went on Pinterest, typed in organizing fabric ideas, and I saw the foam board idea multiple times. I'm like, okay, that looks good. I'm like, ooh, but that looked time consuming. I don't know. I'm like, is there anything else that looks neat and clean and good? And I couldn't find anything that, really caught my eye. Like when I saw, I think it was like a quilter's pin that I saw, and all of her beautiful fabric was just nicely wrapped around the foam board. I'm like, you know what? My Ankara would look so bomb, nicely wrapped around that. Like, it's just gonna look good. So, you know what? Just go ahead and buy those foam boards. So I bought my boards, and they actually sat for a while. Like, I tested one, and I'm like, okay, this is going to look great. So since I'm on the topic of the boards and talking about the boards, let me just go ahead and show you all how I went about wrapping my fabric around the boards and securing it to the board. Alright, so I used these foam boards here to wrap my fabric. One is Royal Brights brand, and the other is Elmer's. I did get these from Joann's, but I checked on Amazon, and they have some off-brand ones that you can buy in bulk. You can also get some from the Dollar Tree and cut them down to size. I had some Joann's gift cards, so that is why I chose to get mine from Joann. So I like to lay out the fabric with the selvage edge to the selvage edge. Now this is already factory pressed. This is 6 yards. So these ones were the easiest ones for me to wrap. So what I do is I start at one end, take the board, and just make sure it's nice and firm and taut in there, and that it's even on both sides. And then I just begin to wrap. And wrap. Then I like to take some pins. So I have some small ballpoint and a little bit larger size ballpoint. And I just like to push in a couple of these at an angle. So I use the smaller ones for my Ankara fabric, and I used these larger ones here for my knits. So what I do is just take the pin and push it not straight through, but at an angle. Alright, and that helps to hold it nice and secure. The next thing I do is take some painter's tape, just rip off a piece, place it down at the bottom, and then I write how much yardage is on this bolt. That way, if I use any of it, I could just cross off the number and rewrite it, or I could always just rip off the painter's tape and add some more. But that is how I bolt, that's how I create my fabric bolts. For my fabric that I have already cut, or the ones that are less than 6 yards, I have to refold it so that it fits within the width of the board here. So once I have refolded it down to the size that I like, I take my iron on both sides, and you can put a pressing cloth on top and just press it down so that it compresses the fabric. Because what I found is it's, you know, after you've opened it up, it does make it, you know, thick again. So just pressing your iron on both sides helps to compress, so that way you can fold it nicely around your board. Now for some of my foam boards, I did cut them down about 3 inches. So this is an example right here, and this is how much I cut off. So if you can see behind me, the 4 squares down here at the bottom, they don't have as much height, so I needed to cut my board down, and I used an X-Acto knife. So I used my grid ruler to trace out a nice straight line, and then I used my X-Acto knife to cut along that line. And then the edges, I could clean it up a little bit, but once I put it on the shelving unit, and this part that I cut off, as long as it's face down, you don't even see those ridges. So it worked out perfectly. Okay, time length of this project. So I bought these boards back in December. I didn't even get started on organizing the fabric till March, okay? These boards just sat. But first things first, I bought the boards. That's step 1, okay? So then I started, you know, during my spring break from work, I started organizing, doing 30 minutes a day. I used Brittany J. Jones' Sew in 30 method, and I applied it to organizing in 30 because I'm like, you know, I don't know how long. I'm like, I just have to get going. I looked at the amount of work, and I'm like, just do something. So I'm like, oh yeah, organize in 30, like Brittany be doing with sewing. So I did that, and that really helped. Like, it didn't look like, at first I'm like, you didn't get anywhere in 30 minutes, but I actually did. Like, I made progress. So I was doing that, and then some days I would like push it up to an hour, and I made progress. Then I got off spring break from work, and, you know, trying to adjust to, you know, being a distance learning instructor. I just, you know, organizing fabric was the last thing on my mind. So I would start organizing here and there, do a little bit of things. I think all of May, I did that up until April. May, I didn't organize a thing, okay? I had to take a break. Like, seriously, I was just mentally drained, and I wasn't even thinking about organizing any fabric. And then, you know, towards the end of the school year, into summer break, y'all, I probably finished this like the second week of June, okay? So it wasn't just like, oh, quick, fast, get it done. No, I already knew this is going to take some time, and this is, you know, not a sprint. This is a marathon. In the end, it's going to look beautiful. It's going to look good. But why am I rushing? What time clock am I on to get this done and be finished? You know, it's my sewing room, and it's going to look how I want it to look. It's a work in progress. That's what I had to remind myself. Don't stress yourself, okay? Just trust the process. And I am ultimately glad with the results. I'm so that it just... you know, it just, you know, looks like a display of art. I just even like having it projecting, you know, in the background. It's so beautiful. So it took some months, but it was well worth it. Now I'm going to give you a tour row by row of the fabric on display. I have 2 units that I got from Big Lots that are holding my fabric. So my Ankara fabric sits behind me here, and then I have my knit and my crepe fabric that sit over here in my room. So yeah, let me go ahead and show you all my fabric. Alright everyone, that concludes the video. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to leave those down below, and I will see you all next time.